I used to feel small, insignificant, not loved, unwanted, and really unworthy for 4.5 decades. And now I have learned and remembered who I truly am. I embrace myself. I am authentic whenever I speak with people and interact with life. And I am choosing how I am creating my life, what I want to achieve, and what's important to me now. Hello, I am Carolina Cummins, self-love mentor, spiritual guide, and founder of Liberating Hearts. And in this video, I want to show you my journey that you can also step onto, and maybe you already are on, to help you, to show you the important parts and the ingredients and the tools that are necessary to help yourself to move from feeling small and insignificant to feeling empowered, truly loving, and at peace. When I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, people were coming from the ego mind a lot. I mean, I'm talking about my parents, mostly my mom actually. And I used to hear things like, oh, there she is crying again. And then I was called a crybaby. Or maybe words like, who do you think you are? And that's not how you do it. That's not how you cook rice. I was constantly guided from my mom's ego mind. And I used to feel that in a way that made me very uncomfortable. So whenever she was coming from her false perceptions that her ego mind was giving her, I would feel uncomfortable. And I called it, I was suffering emotionally. Because anything that is not intended from love, that you're giving out, will not feel loving or peaceful or enjoyable to the other person. When you are a sensitive soul, like I used to be. So when you feel like you're an empath, or you feel the emotions stronger than other people, and you don't have that thick skin like some people, and you are taking things too hard. You believe people, you trust people, and you want truth to be, the guide that everybody goes by. But then, of course, I had to uncover that that wasn't the case. There were people who were trying to rip me off on purpose. And I just couldn't comprehend that. That was not something I knew in my world. Because the thing was, I actually remembered what it was like beyond the veil, the life or the world that I was coming from. I remembered what it was like to live from love, to be in love, and to live in harmony with everybody around me. So coming to this world again for the X amount of time, and you always forget, right, when you come into your new embodiment, that was quite a bit of a shock again. So I had to learn to uncover fully my true self, although I always knew I was love. I never forgot that. But the conditioning that I got through my parents and teachers and other people was so strong. It was like an overpowering like as if a hood was over my true self. And so I was always feeling overpowered, manipulated, and pushed to do things that weren't really me, or that didn't align with me. And that became the norm. I mean, you probably know that, right? And you have a similar story to tell. So my whole life, my whole first half of my life was all about learning how to not get trapped or influenced by the false beliefs, these emotions that I was feeling that were so painful and unloving, and to actually free myself from the conditioning that is here in the mass consciousness, or has been. And now we've come to a point where we are invited and shown that it's not all we are. You know, the suffering, the limitation, the lack of love, money, harmony. This is not who we are. This is the illusion that we lived by, we believed in, and now we are invited to shed our skin, to shed that illusion. And so therefore, I am now coming out again on my channel to actually help you to come back home to your true self, so that you can let go of all the false beliefs and the emotions that are created by those beliefs, and that you can come back to your true self. You can love yourself as you are, you can trust yourself, and you can guide yourself to the life that you choose to have and to enjoy. And the things that I learned at first were the normal things, like modalities. I used to do a bit of past life regression. I learned Reiki, but I could never sense the energies enough within myself, and therefore I left that again. And I learned NLP, I learned hypnosis, I learned timeline therapy, and I tried all those things for a few years, and I came to the conclusion that actually I was not meant to learn somebody else's modalities. I was meant to find my own way, my way of living life from love. Because the foundation I had, I knew I am love. That's my truth, and that's your truth. That's everybody's truth. Because we are beings of love. We are part of the unity consciousness that is light, that is expansive, that is infinite. And being in a human body, we feel that unity consciousness. Some people call it God or source energy or the universe. We feel that energy as peace, love, freedom, joy, expansion. And that's our true self. And then we have to deal with the false beliefs, the conditioning, the patterns that we learn from our parents. And now, so we are living with two selves within ourselves, right? There's always two selves. And actually, the false ego self is the stronger one. For most people, it's like 95% of their identification is that ego mind. And the true self, that is quietly there underneath all of that, that resides in your heart, is always present, is always waiting for you, really wants to come to the foreground again. But it's not pushy, it's not manipulating, it waits for you patiently, because we've come into this body to remember and learn again who we truly are. So we got lots of trials and tribulations, right? We've got to uncover that true self by shedding all those skins of false identifications. And isn't it really difficult to actually see those false beliefs? Because we are so used to and familiar with our patterns. And we might believe that, well, I can't do it. Nobody else in my family ever did it. How am I supposed to? And I have never been given the guidance or the mentoring or anything like that. This is what I was thinking, you know, and therefore, how could I possibly do it? I can't do it. But I wanted to. I felt it as a strong mission in me to go on that path. And therefore, it took me a long time because I didn't have any help at all. And I also sensed that my soul wanted it that way, because that is my true empowerment. That is truly coming back to my true self, doing it by myself, uncovering it, because I am an old soul and I've learned a lot. I had a lot of wisdom in my pockets, really, that I could always fall back on, and that was just there because of all the lives I already had before. And I decided now to come here in this really, really amazing time when the earth is shifting and ascending into the 5-dimensional reality where we can live from love and where there isn't any more fear and limitation and fighting the outside world. So I wanted to be here to actually spread my love, to remember myself, and to live from my true self, to live from my heart instead of my ego mind. And this is what I've achieved now. I have got the tools, I've got the insights, I've got the remembrance, and I've got love as my guide, the true love that is unconditional. It took me many lifetimes to learn this unconditional loving, to love even though somebody lies to you, somebody doesn't stand to their words, and maybe ghosts you, maybe doesn't respond anymore, just leaves you, just drops you, or maybe there is a relationship that was important to you, but the other person doesn't show the same interest. And there's so many upsets and so many heart pains that I went through, and I'm sure you've gone through, that always diminished my love, that always made me think that I'm nothing, that I'm not worthy and I'm not lovable, which is of course completely untrue, and it's the opposite of what I truly am. So that was the lowest point of my ego identification, feeling unworthy and unlovable. And I've experienced that, I lived through that, and now I am back beyond that. So I'm above that little ego me, and I am back with the embodiment of love and of peace and freedom. And that's what I choose. These are my highest values. And that's what I always come back to. I am dedicated to live my life from love, peace, and joy. And that means in the everyday life, to remember that. Sometimes I have days, still, that was the hardest thing for me this last year, to not get pulled into the false illusion that says, oh, I don't have enough to say, nobody wants to hear it, I can't do it, I forget what I want to say, I don't know what to say, and therefore I actually stopped my YouTube channel. And because my feelings, my emotions are so strong, because I'm a Cancerian, and I used to feel identified with my emotions, and so therefore they could easily pull me into the false illusion. And so that was the last task that I had to conquer, to actually stay still and to be present with a negative, maybe procrastination feeling, or a feeling of, I don't want to do this, no, this is too much work, too difficult, too whatever. And then I wouldn't do it for a day. But the next morning I was always back to really wanting to spread my love and to share my journey and to help you to empower yourself emotionally, spiritually, and within yourself, within all of yourself. So you live your life from your heart more times than not. That's the first step. So let's just make it into a small step, not just go from 0 to 100, but if you are identified with your ego mind a lot and you fall into the trap of being the victim and feeling just not good enough, other people are better than you, and you feel wrong or you feel not wanted, and to come out of that and to actually step by step, because the journey is to uncover those false beliefs and the emotions that go with that, and to realize that's not who I am, and that's not true, that's not based on truth. And you probably know love and truth go hand in hand. So you cannot be loving if you're not truthful. So if you're judging yourself, and that means you are sometimes lying to yourself, saying, I'm not worthy, then you're not living from love. And only when you're living from love, you're coming from your heart, and you're embracing yourself as you are. And you are able to release the old, because you can see how wrong that is, how untrue that is. So that was my journey. I uncovered the truth of living from love and truth and presence. These are the three, I call them tools or guides that I use to come back to my heart and back into my home, back to my true self. So say I am experiencing, again, I'm not wanted. That was my first belief that I remembered, because it came from past lives when I was about 3 or 6 weeks old. And it was the hardest belief to overcome. I also had a strong belief of I'm wrong. Very much I'm not worthy, because I never got any praise. I never got any reassurance from my parents. I didn't know what I was good at. And I thought, whatever I'm doing, it's not working out. It's like a fear of failure I had, and believing in that I could never succeed. So basically these beliefs were completely in my way. They were blocking any success that I could have in life. Feeling insignificant, not lovable, and unworthy could never create a loving relationship, a true loving relationship. It also hindered me to have a really good income that's more than enough, more than I needed. And it did not help me to actually live the mission that I came to live. I always knew I wanted to spread more love and show you how to live unconditionally from love. And when you can do that, first with yourself, you embrace yourself, and you are allowing yourself to be authentic, and you're valuing yourself, then you feel confident and you spread this energy of I love myself. And then you easily attract another person who also loves himself. And then you can have a soulmate, a relationship that's based on true unconditional love, truth, and presence. And in the same way, when you feel worthy and you have confidence, you know what you are good at, and you know what you want to offer, and that really brings you joy and fulfillment, then you can also find your soul's mission, your purpose in life. And having those two things are really the foundation of living a life that's full of joy, beauty, love, peace and joy, and fulfillment, freedom, expansion. So for me, it took a long, long time. It took decades, but it was so worth it, because I experienced every little thing by myself, and I learned the way to get out of the conditioning and the false beliefs and the emotions that pull you down. And that is worth so much now to me and to my clients. I've helped people to step onto their self-empowerment journey, where they learn to love themselves and where they take back their power, so that nobody else around them can influence them anymore, and that they no longer can manipulate them. And that's always very subtle, especially between parents and yourself, because you want to please them, right? So we don't want to please people anymore. We don't want to oblige and live our lives by other people's standards. It's all about coming back to your values, what you truly love and appreciate and value, so you can feel fulfilled. You love yourself unconditionally, and you are at peace. Now, I've got a freebie for you to help yourself to come back to your heart. It's a short meditation of 15 minutes you can use every day to learn to live your life from love. This is a first step. There's also a short PDF that you can find below in the description, which is a self-assessment full of questions of finding out how much you are living from your inner peace. Until next time, don't forget to love yourself no matter what.